The Galactic archives of species 7 Alpha weren't exactly what you'd call exciting, unless you found dust and the occasional lost researcher thrilling. Me? I'm Taz'Klor, Senior Archivist of the Vexellian Empire, and I'm stuck cataloging the remnants of dead civilizations. Fun, right? Another extinct species file, another headache, I muttered, massaging the ridges along my cranial plates. My assistant, Prell, hovered nearby, her anti-grav stabilizers making that annoying whirring sound they always did when she was nervous. "Sir, this one seems different," she said, handing me a data crystal that I rolled all 4 of my eyes. "They are always different, Prell. Let me guess. They destroyed themselves through war? Environmental collapse? Or the classic oops, we accidentally created an artificial intelligence that decided organic life was inefficient?" "No, sir. They were deliberately exterminated." That got my attention. I inserted the crystal into my console, and the holographic display illuminated the dim archive chamber with a soft blue glow. The file designation read, Species 8472 Beta, Extinction Event, 23,451 standard years ago. "Let's see what these poor bastards did to deserve annihilation," I said, scrolling through the data. Technological level. Spacefaring achieved faster than light travel. Blah, blah, blah. Wait, what's this? At the bottom of the file was a warning note, written in the ancient script of the 8,472 Betans. The translation matrix took a moment, then displayed, "Beware of SOL-3. They guard something worse." Prell stabilizers whined louder. "What does that mean, sir?" "It means absolutely nothing without context," I sighed. "Sol-3? Is that even in our star charts?" "Checking now, sir." Prell's ocular sensors whirred as she accessed the main database. Sol-3 appears to be the 3rd planet in a relatively unimportant yellow star system in the Orion Arm local designation, Earth. Earth, I repeated, the word feeling strange in my mouth parts. "And what exactly do we know about this?" "Earth? Very little, sir. It's classified as a pre-spacefaring civilization quarantine zone. No contact permitted." I scratched my secondary mandible thoughtfully. A quarantine for a pre-spacefaring species? That's unusual. "Indeed, sir. The quarantine was established by the Galactic Council approximately 75,000 standard years ago. Something didn't add up. Prell, cross-reference all extinct civilizations in our archives. Look for any mention of Sol-3 or Earth. That'll take some time, sir. Just do it." 3 excruciating hours later, Prell returned with a datapad that looked like it might collapse under the weight of its own information. Her stabilizers were now making a sound like a dying grazer beast. "Sir, I have found something concerning." "Spit it out, Prell." "Every single advanced civilization that went extinct in the last 100,000 years left some form of warning about Earth. Every single one." I felt a chill run down my dorsal ridge. "Show me." The data pad displayed a series of translated warnings. The Terrans must never leave their world. They are the Wardens. Juxtin Collective, extinct 67,432 years ago. Sol-3 contains the ancient prison. The inhabitants are its guardians, though they do not know it. Pelgasian Empire, extinct 45,012 years ago. We try to help Earth. We try to warn them. They didn't understand until it was too late. Now we pay the price. Yothian Commonwealth, extinct 28,775 years ago. And finally, the most recent, the humans think they are alone. This is necessary. They must never know what sleeps beneath their oceans. Zentari Federation, extinct just 5,123 years ago. "Well," I said, trying to sound casual while fighting the urge to crawl under my desk, "this is certainly interesting. Sir, protocol demands we report this to the High Command immediately." Prell insisted that I waved a dismissive limb. "And tell them what?" "That a bunch of dead civilizations left cryptic warnings about some backwater planet. They demote me to waste disposal duty faster than you can say paranoid delusion." "But sir, no, Prell. We need more information before we go running to High Command like frightened hatchlings." I tapped my claws on the console, thinking, how far is Earth from here? Approximately 3 weeks' journey at maximum warp, sir. Perfect. Request a research vessel for an archaeological survey of the neighboring Xenthi system. Prell's ocular sensors widened. Sir, are you suggesting we violate quarantine protocols? I grinned, showing all 4 rows of my teeth. Not at all, my anxiety-riddled assistant. We're going to conduct a perfectly legitimate survey of the Xenthi system, which just happens to be only 2 light days from Sol. This is highly irregular, sir. So is finding identical warnings from dozens of extinct civilizations. Prell, don't you want to know what they were so afraid of? Prell's stabilizers finally calmed down, which worried me more than their usual whining. It meant she was actually considering my insane plan. I will request the vessel, sir, but I must register my formal objection to this course of action. Objection noted and thoroughly ignored. We leave as soon as the ship is ready. 2 standard weeks later, our archaeological survey vessel, actually an outdated patrol ship with barely functioning sensors, dropped out of warp at the edge of the Xenthi system. Captain Vorex, a grizzled veteran with more scars than patience, was not pleased with our change of plans. Let me get this straight, Archivist, he growled, his facial tentacles twitching with irritation. You want me to take my ship into a quarantine system because you found some spooky notes in your dusty archives? That's an oversimplification, Captain, I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. We have reason to believe something of galactic importance may be located on or near Sol 3. Earth, Prell helpfully added, Vorex's tentacles twisted into what I recognized as the Thraxian equivalent of a scowl. I don't care if you think they have got the secret to immortality. Quarantine zones are established for a reason. Captain, I said, lowering my voice, every extinct civilization we have studied, dozens of them, left warnings about this planet. Don't you think that merits investigation? One of his eye stalks swiveled toward me. What kind of warnings? I gestured to Prell, who projected the translated messages onto the bridge's main screen. Vorex read them in silence, his tentacles gradually stopping their angry writhing. Well, he finally said, that's disconcerting. Indeed, I agreed. But it doesn't change the fact that violating quarantine is punishable by permanent exile. I leaned closer. Only if we are caught, Captain. We are not proposing to make contact. Just a quick scan for the edge of their system. And out. No one the wiser. Vorex's secondary hearts were clearly visible pulsing under his translucent skin, a sign of internal conflict among his species. Finally, he barked, fine. 1 quick pass, minimal scanning profile, and if we detect any other vessels, we are gone. Clear, crystal clear, Captain. Plot a course for the Sol system. Vorex ordered his navigator. Minimal energy signature. I want us quieter than a Yowlon tomb spider. As our ship slipped through the void towards Sol, I found myself both excited and terrified. What could possibly be so dangerous that entire civilizations were destroyed for investigating it? And why was Earth, a planet of primitive beings barely capable of reaching their own moon, designated as its guardian? Sir, Prell whispered as we stood on the observation deck, watching the stars streak by, do you think the humans know? Know what? What they are guarding? I considered this. The warnings suggest they don't, which might explain why they're still alive while more advanced species were wiped out. You can't reveal what you don't know. That's not comforting, sir. It wasn't meant to be. 3 days later, our ship decelerated at the very edge of the Sol system. Even from this distance, our sensors could detect the bustling activity around the 3rd planet, primitive satellites, space stations, and the occasional chemical rocket. Barbaric technology, muttered Vorex. They are still burning fossil fuels to reach orbit. Focus on deep scanning, I instructed. Anything unusual beneath the surface or in their oceans. The science officer, a tall, spindly arachnid named Zix, manipulated the sensor controls with her 8 limbs moving in perfect coordination. Initial scans show standard planetary composition, large ocean coverage, extremely diverse biosphere. Nothing immediately wait. What is it? I demanded, moving closer to her station. There's something odd about their oceanic trenches. The deepest parts of their oceans show unusual energy readings. Define unusual, Vorex growled. Zix's compound eyes flickered with confusion. I can't, Captain. It's like nothing in our database. It's not technological, not biological, not geological. It's just wrong. Wrong how? I pressed. Like the readings themselves are being distorted. As if space-time is folded somehow. A chill ran through the bridge. Sir, the communications officer suddenly called out. We are detecting an approaching vessel. It doesn't match any known configuration. On screen, Vorex ordered. The view screen showed a small, primitive-looking craft. Clearly Earth technology with chemical propulsion and what appeared to be crude weapon systems. They have spotted us, the tactical officer reported. They are broadcasting some kind of message. Let's hear it. I said. A scratchy voice came through our speakers, speaking in an unfamiliar language. The universal translator took a moment before converting it to standard Galactic. Unidentified vessel. This is United Earth Defense Force Patrol Ship Vigilant. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately, or we will take defensive action. Vorex and I exchanged shocked looks. United Earth Defense Force. I whispered. Their file says they have barely achieved spaceflight beyond their moon. Our intel is clearly outdated. Vorex replied through clenched mandibles. Tactical. What are their weapons capabilities? Analyzing. Basic projectile weapons, rudimentary energy beams. Nothing that could penetrate our shields. Vorex relaxed slightly. Should we respond? Before I could answer, the communications officer interrupted. Sir, I'm picking up quantum entanglement communications from the Earth vessel. Every being on the bridge froze. Quantum entanglement communications were far beyond what Earth should possess. Who are they communicating with? Vorex demanded. Unknown, sir, but there's something materializing behind us. The tactical display updated to show a massive object appearing from what could only be a cloaked state directly in our flight path. Full reverse. Vorex shouted, "Get us out of here." The view screen shifted to show our new company, a vessel of impossible architecture, with angles that seemed to bend in ways that hurt to look at. It was enormous, dwarfing our research ship like a predator looming over prey. Sir, the science officer whispered, her voice trembling, that ship isn't registering as matter on our sensors. What do you mean? I demanded. I mean, it's not made of anything we understand. It's like a hole in reality. A new transmission came through, this time from the impossible ship. No visual, just a voice, calm, measured, and somehow more terrifying for it. Vexellian vessel, you have violated quarantine protocol, Omega. Earth is under our protection. You were warned. Vorex stepped forward. Who are you? What authority do you claim over this system? A pause, then. We're the Guardians. We enforce the prison. The humans are under our supervision. They must not be interfered with. What prison? I called out. What are the humans guarding? Another pause, longer this time. They guard the doorway, the entrance to what came before, what must never return. Prell stabilizers were now screaming at a pitch I'd never heard before. Sir, the ship is scanning us. It's accessing our databases. Shut down all systems. Vorex ordered. Too late, the voice replied calmly. We see you found the warnings. Curious little archivist, seeking knowledge without understanding the danger. I felt exposed, vulnerable. Are you going to destroy us like the others? Others destroyed themselves. They learned too much, tried to use what they found. Some tried to save the humans from their burden. Some tried to use the doorway. And what will you do to us? Vorex demanded. You will be allowed to leave, with a message for your people. The main screen suddenly flickered, showing images that burned themselves into my mind. Creatures of impossible geometry, entities larger than stars, things that existed in more dimensions than we could perceive. I heard screaming and realized it was coming from me. Then, as suddenly as it began, the images stopped. That is what waits beyond the doorway, the voice said. That is what Earth was seeded to contain. The humans evolved to be the perfect wardens, clever enough to defend themselves, violent enough to fight if needed, but not advanced enough to understand what they guard. But why tell us this? I gasped, still shaking from what I'd seen. Because now you know. Now you will help maintain the quarantine. You have seen what happens when it fails. The massive ship began to fade from our sensors. Return to your space. Tell others what you have learned. Earth must remain isolated, for everyone's sake. And then it was gone, leaving us trembling in the darkness at the edge of the Sol system. Get us out of here, Vorex whispered. Maximum warp. Now, as our ship hurled itself back toward Vexelian space, I sat in my quarters staring at the data crystal containing all we had learned. The images that had been forced into our minds were already fading. A mercy, I had decided, but the understanding remained. Earth wasn't a prison. It was a cork in a bottle containing something so ancient and terrible that reality itself rejected it. And the humans, those primitive, violent, remarkable creatures, had been placed there, or perhaps had evolved there, specifically to keep that cork in place. They were the guardians who didn't know they were guarding anything. Sir, Prell's voice came through my doorcom. High Command is requesting our preliminary report. I looked at the data crystal in my hand, then crushed it. Tell them our survey of the Zenthi system revealed nothing of interest, Prell. But sir, the quarantine exists for a reason, Prell. Now we know why. As our ship raced through the stars, I drafted a new entry for the archives. The Sol system is to be avoided at all costs. Classification, Omega-level quarantine. Reason, they guard something worse. And we should thank them for it. The Vexelian High Council chambers weren't designed for comfort, more for intimidation. With their towering obsidian columns and the semicircular arrangement of the 12 counselors perched on elevated platforms like predatory birds eyeing their next meal. I stood in the center of the chamber, feeling particularly small and very much like that meal. Senior Archivist Taz'Klor began High Counselor Dravmore, her voice echoing throughout the cavernous room. You have submitted an unusual request to classify an entire star system as Omega-level quarantine based on what exactly? Your report is suspiciously vague. I shifted uncomfortably, aware that all 24 counselor eyes were fixed on me. Captain Vorex stood silently at my side, his facial tentacles completely still, a bad sign among Thraxians. High Counselor, the details are sensitive. Sensitive? Scoffed Counselor Zrath, the military representative. We are the High Council. Nothing is too sensitive for us. I took a deep breath. Respectfully, Counselor, this is. That sent a ripple of murmurs through the chamber. 3 weeks ago, I continued before they could interrupt. What was supposed to be a routine archaeological survey revealed information of existential significance. Information that previous civilizations died for discovering. Bold claim. Rumbled Counselor Pax, the oldest member. Evidence. Captain Vorex finally spoke up. Counselors, my crew, and I witnessed things that defy explanation. We encountered technology far beyond our understanding, operated by entities who specifically warned us against interference with Sol 3. And yet, Dravmore leaned forward. You have provided no sensor data, no communications logs, nothing tangible to support these claims. I met her gaze steadily. Because I destroyed it all. The chamber erupted in outrage. Silence, roared Dravmore, slamming her ceremonial staff. When order returned, she fixed me with a glacial stare. You destroyed evidence? That's grounds for immediate dismissal, Archivist. I'm aware, High Counselor. I accept whatever punishment the Council deems appropriate. But I stand by my decision. Explain yourself, she demanded. Some knowledge is infectious, Counselors. What we learned near Sol 3, what we saw, it changes you. Changes how you see reality. The Zentari Federation was one of the most advanced civilizations in recorded history, and they're dust now because they couldn't resist investigating Earth further. Counselor Zrath leaned forward. Are you suggesting this? Sotwa poses a military threat to the Vexelian Empire? No, I said firmly. What I'm suggesting is that what Sol 3 contains poses a threat to all life in this galaxy. Perhaps beyond. The chamber fell silent. Since our return, I continued, I have had our archival AI analyzed the extinction patterns of advanced civilizations over the past 100,000 years. In every case, their final expeditions or communications reference Sol 3 before their collapse. This isn't coincidence. High Counselor Dravmore studied me for an uncomfortably long moment. What exactly did you encounter at Sol 3, Archivist? I hesitated. How could I explain what we'd seen without endangering everyone in this room? Guardians, I finally said. Entities that protect Sol 3, Earth, from interference. They showed us glimpses of what would happen if the quarantine were broken. And what was that? Press Counselor Paxton, I closed my eyes briefly, the fragmented memories still enough to make my limbs tremble. The end of everything, Counselor. Not just death, unmaking. The silence that followed was profound. I have prepared a sealed directive, I said, placing a data crystal on the central pedestal. Access restricted to the High Council only. It contains everything I dare record about what we encountered. I recommend it be stored in the deepest vault we possess, with instructions that it only be opened if absolutely necessary. Dravmore signaled to an aide, who retrieved the crystal. And you believe this justifies an Omega-level quarantine? No exploration, no observation, not even long-range monitoring. Yes, High Counselor. The humans must remain undisturbed. The humans? Counselor's wrath perked up. The native species? I immediately regretted the slip. They are part of the quarantine's purpose. Explain, demanded Dravmore. I sighed. There was no avoiding it now. The humans are guardians, though they don't know it. They evolved on a world that contains something ancient and terrible. Their presence, their specific pattern of development, somehow keeps it contained. And these guardians you encountered, they are not the humans. No, they are something else entirely. Something that watches the watchers. After 2 more hours of grueling questions, the council dismissed us to deliberate. Captain Vorex and I waited in an antechamber, neither of us speaking. What was there to say? We'd both seen things that had fundamentally altered our understanding of the universe. When we were finally summoned back, I was surprised to find only High Counselor Dravmore present, the other counselors' platforms conspicuously empty. The council has reached a decision, she announced. Sol 3 will be classified as an Omega-level quarantine zone. All records of its location will be restricted. No vessels will be permitted within 10 light years of the system. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Thank you, High Counselor. Don't thank me, Archivist, she said coldly. This decision was not made lightly. The council has also reviewed the encrypted data you provided. My blood froze. You accessed the crystal already? It is our duty to verify threats to the Empire, she stated flatly. 3 counselors are now under medical observation. 1 may never recover. Guilt crashed through me. I warned. Yes, you did, she cut me off. And now we understand why. There is one more matter to address. Her tone made my skin prickle with apprehension. The knowledge you and Captain Vorex possess is deemed too dangerous to remain intact. Captain Vorex stiffened beside me. What are you suggesting, High Counselor? Not suggesting. Ordering. You will both undergo targeted memory redaction. The procedure has already been prepared. No, I protested. You can't just, we can and we will, Dravmore said firmly. This isn't punishment, Archivist. It's mercy. The images in your mind, the things you saw beyond the doorway, they will destroy you eventually. They're already affecting your neural patterns. I wanted to argue further, but deep down, I knew she was right. The nightmares have been getting worse. The visions coming even when I was awake. Fine, y coincide. But someone needs to remember. Someone needs to know why the quarantine exists. I will bear that burden, Dravmore said quietly, along with the first guardian of the archives. 2 keepers of the secret, never traveling together. That should be sufficient. As security personnel led us toward the medical wing, Captain Vorex finally spoke. Do you regret it, Archivist? Going to Earth. I considered the question carefully. No, we needed to know, but I'm grateful to forget. The medical bay was pristine and intimidating, with a neural recalibration chair in the center that looked more like an instrument of torture than healing. The chief medical officer, A Silurian with 6 arms and a face that might have been beautiful to other Silurians approached us with a sympathetic expression. "The procedure is painless," she assured us. "You will retain all general knowledge and memories, except for specific details about your encounter at Sol 3. Those will be replaced with artificial memories of an uneventful survey mission." "Will we remember this conversation?" Vorex asked. "Will we know we have been altered?" "No," she replied gently. "That would defeat the purpose." As they prepared the equipment, I found myself thinking about the humans on that blue world, going about their lives, building their crude spacecraft and their digital technologies, fighting their petty wars, creating their art and music and literature, all while unknowingly standing guard over something that could unmake reality itself. "They don't deserve that burden," I murmured. "What was that?" the medical officer asked. "Nothing important," I replied, just thinking aloud. When the procedure was complete, I returned to my duties at the archives with a strange sense of unease I couldn't quite place. My assistant Prell seemed oddly protective, watching me with concern in her ocular sensors. Our recent archaeological survey of the Zenthi system had been disappointingly uneventful, yielding nothing of interest. Yet something felt. 6 months later, I was reorganizing the restricted section when I discovered a sealed file I had no memory of creating. It was labeled simply, Omega Protocol, SOL3. "Prell," I called out, "do you know anything about this file?" My assistant's stabilizers immediately began that irritating whine. "No, sir. That section is above my clearance level." Something in her tone made me suspicious. "Prell, are you lying to me?" I was instructed not to discuss certain matters with you, sir, by order of the High Council." Now, that was interesting. I examined the file's security protocols, incredibly complex, requiring clearance I didn't possess. Yet, curiously, it was tagged with my own identifier as the author that I had created a file I couldn't access. That made no sense, unless a chill ran through me as a half-formed thought tried to surface, only to slip away like water through fingers. Had I discovered something so important, so dangerous, that even I wasn't permitted to remember it? Before I could ponder further, the archive door hissed open, and High Counselor Dravmore herself entered. An unprecedented event. High Counselors rarely left the Council spire, let alone visited the dusty archives. "Senior Archivist," she greeted me formally. "I see you have discovered the Omega file." I straightened immediately. "Yes, High Counselor. I was just wondering, it's restricted for good reason," she interrupted. "Some knowledge is too dangerous, even for its discoverers." "I discovered this?" I asked, confused. She studied me carefully. "What do you remember about your survey of the Zenthi system?" "It was unremarkable," I replied automatically. "No significant findings." "Good," she said, though her expression suggested the opposite. "That's good. High Counselor, with respect, if I discovered something important enough for Omega classification, shouldn't I know what it is?" "No," she said firmly. "You should not. In fact, you specifically requested that you should not." I blinked in surprise. I requested my own memory alteration. Instead of answering, she took the file from my hands and returned it to the secure cabinet. "Some burdens are too heavy to bear, Archivist. Be grateful you no longer carry this one." As she turned to leave, a strange impulse made me call out. "It's about Earth, isn't it?" Dravmore froze mid-step, then slowly turned back to face me. "What did you say? Earth?" I repeated, the word feeling oddly familiar on my mouth parts. "Sol-toi." I don't know why I said that. Her expression hardened. "Report to medical immediately, Archivist. Your neural recalibration requires adjustment." "But That's an order." After she left, Prell approached cautiously. "Sir, are you all right?" I stared at the secured cabinet, feeling like I was forgetting something vitally important. "I'm not sure, Prell. Did we ever research a planet called Earth?" Her stabilizers whined at their highest pitch yet. "I think you should go to medical, sir," as the High Counselor suggested. "Yes," I agreed distantly. "I suppose I should." But as I walked toward the medical bay, something made me detour to my private terminal. I had just 15 minutes before the medical staff would report my absence. 15 minutes to search for whatever truth lay behind my fractured memories that I bypassed the standard archive search and went directly to the etymology database. If Earth meant something significant, there might be traces in linguistic records that hadn't been purged. The search yielded a single ancient Pelgasian reference: Earth, the seminal world. The final line of defense against that which waits below. A splitting headache immediately tore through my skull, accompanied by flashes of impossible images, angles that couldn't exist, entities larger than galaxies, a doorway beneath an ocean. By the time security personnel found me unconscious beside my terminal, I'd managed to send one encrypted message to a trusted colleague on the outer colonies. Look to the quarantine zones. Find a pattern of extinctions. Earth guards something worse, and someone doesn't want us to know. When I awoke in the medical bay, the chief medical officer was standing over me with a neural recalibrator. "Don't worry, Senior Archivist," she said soothingly. "This time we will make sure those troublesome memories stay buried." "What memories?" I asked, genuinely confused. She smiled. "Exactly. 3 years later, a junior archivist named Prell was cataloging extinction events when he noticed a pattern. Every major civilization collapse in the past 100,000 years was preceded by some investigation of a quarantined yellow star system in the Orion Arm. When he reported his findings to Senior Archivist Taz'Klor, he was surprised by his superior's reaction. "Forget what you found," I told him firmly. "Classify it and forget it." "But sir, don't you think it's strange that—" "Yes," I interrupted. "It's strange, it's significant, and it's dangerous. Trust me when I say that some knowledge isn't worth the cost." "How can knowledge be dangerous?" the young archivist asked innocently. I looked at him for a long moment, feeling the ghost of memories I no longer possessed. "Because some things in this universe were never meant to be known. Some doors were never meant to be opened." "What doors, sir?" I shook my head. "I don't remember, and that's probably for the best." That night, as I prepared for sleep cycle, I found myself drawn to my window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out, there was a blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star. A planet called Earth, though I couldn't recall how I knew that name. A planet guarded by entities powerful enough to erase memories and destroy civilizations. A planet whose inhabitants had no idea they were standing watch over something that could end everything. "Sleep well, humans," I whispered to the distant stars. "Guard your prison, for all our sakes." Somewhere in the darkness of space, circling an unremarkable star, the humans continued their noisy, chaotic existence, fighting wars, creating art, launching primitive spaceships, and dreaming of a universe they might one day explore. Blissfully unaware that the universe was very much hoping they would stay exactly where they were, because beyond their understanding, beneath their deepest oceans, waited something ancient, something patient, something that whispered to those who learned too much, showed them too much, until reality itself became unbearable, something worse than extinction, and the humans, violent, resilient, wonderfully ignorant humans, were the only thing keeping it contained, the perfect wardens for a prison they didn't know existed.